And a good evening, everybody. Chris McDonald back with you for a Monday night midnight special going into Tuesday. We're grateful to see everybody back. We were hoping to have James Akers with us tonight. We had a little boo-boo, and he's not going to be with us till tomorrow night, but that's okay. And we're going to talk with you a little bit tonight. We're not going to keep you too much longer than about an hour or so, maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes. We just want to run you a few things by you that's happening this week. Three big stories really that's happening. One being this Mecca alliance that has been formed over the weekend with three Middle Eastern powers: the Turkish government, the Saudis, and Pakistan. And it's now being reported tonight that Egypt is going to join in this military alliance, and we're going to break that down for you. Also, beginning Wednesday, around noon, we're going to have another solar eclipse that is going to be seen in some parts of the country. It won't be seen by most, to be frank with you. If you live in the extreme northeast part of the nation, your Maine, in points north of that way, you're going to see about a 20 to 30% eclipse of the sun. And if you're in northwest Alaska, you'll see it. The main trajectory of this is going to go over northern Spain, Iceland, parts of northern Russia. And parts of northern Spain are going to be completely in the dark. It won't affect the whole continent, or the whole country, I should say. Europe's the continent, Spain's the nation. But it's going to have some definitely it's going to get dark. Madrid will be totally in darkness, so it's going to be a wild little time here coming up on August the 12th. I know that some folks were reporting and saying that it was going to come over the Titanic area, and that is not so. We checked into this a little bit deeper this afternoon, and we'll just show you. I'll just go ahead and show you where this path is going. It's not going to affect that part, but there is some prophetic, regardless of whether it goes over the Titanic area or not. I don't care. It's a prophetic solar eclipse, and this is from Star Walk, and you can see Anchorage, Alaska. If you're in Alaska, London, that's Iceland, Greenland, Valencia, Spain, 100% of Valencia, Spain is going to be in the dark. Berlin, Paris, and then up here, let me get my whiteboard out. Let's see here, this whiteboard here, this upper area right in here, this is going to be Russia. But you can see this area right in here, that's the northern part of Spain, not the full state, but Spain. That's going to be a area that is under dark. So it's going to be a somewhat of I would say a major eclipse, but for us in the North American continent, we're not going to experience it. Not like we did a few years ago. I was there for the last, it went right over Ohio. I want to say that was 22, or maybe 24. I can't remember. Maybe it was 24. And but I spent that day with my dear buddy Chris Aquila. It came right over, actually it was crazy. It went over Palestine, Ohio, and in Dayton, it got completely dark. I've got to go back and check my pictures, because I took pictures that day of it, and we had a video. We actually were on air live when that last one happened. Crazy thing about it, there won't be another one like this for another 18 years. And I was looking at the TV tonight, and I was like, boy, that's cool. 18 years from now we'll have it. And then it hit me that I'm going to be 79 years old. I hope I'm around for this next one, because I'd like to see it, because that one's coming right down the Mississippi River, Tennessee, Western Tennessee, Alabama, and North Florida, where I likely will be. It is going to be in the total path of this eclipse in 2044. That is, of course, if the Lord tarries. The main thing about this eclipse that I want to just mention tonight is this. Look, any eclipse of this nature, when the sun, and basically a solar eclipse, is when the moon its trajectory and the sun sort of interact, and the sun is blocked from the Earth by the moon, and the two orbital bodies cross. And it's rare. These things don't happen every year, don't happen every day. And it throws the Earth in darkness. I was reading up on a little bit of history about these things, and it's interesting that the history of the eclipse is interesting in the sense that anytime that these things happen, there has been they've been viewed as omens. I watched a documentary of the Persian king Darius, and there was a lunar eclipse right before the Grecian Empire of Alexander the Great overtook the Persian Empire, and he was going to go to war with Alexander, and he felt a foreboding the night before because there was a total lunar eclipse, a blood moon. And when he saw that blood moon, he felt like that was a sign that he shouldn't do it. He went against his better judgments, and of course, the rest is history. The Grecians defeated the Persians at that great battle, and it was the Battle of the Eclipse, 586 BC roughly, and both armies interpreted this as a divine command to cease fighting, but the Persian Empire basically was broken at that point, and Greece took over the world, and there's a lot of history behind that. There's been 4 major events that have occurred during a solar eclipse. The Bible tells us, according, of course, that Jesus, the day that he died, the earth was plunged into darkness, and this was AD 33. Of course, that was more the God the Father doing that, but the earth was plunged into darkness, and it was a sign that God just could not view the Lord's his own son's brutality as far as what was placed on him and the sin that was placed on him at the cross. And it was such a terrible scene that heaven itself just said, the Lord said, I can't see it. And God pulled the blinds, as I heard one preacher say one time, and he's absolutely right. But the fall of Constantinople, the weeks that was leading up to the city's fall to the Ottoman Empire, there was a lunar eclipse and subsequent darkening of the moon. It marked the end of the Byzantine Empire. And, of course, the death of King Henry I. This happened in 1133 AD. It was a total solar eclipse shortly after King Henry of England had set sail for Normandy. He died 2 years later, which chroniclers of the time directly attributed to the unnatural darkness being an omen of his demise. And these are all historical things that you can find if you do any research, because I was just curious about how these things have played out in history. But regardless of the omens behind them, or the cultures, or the mechanics of the celestial, these are without a doubt, these are very intriguing things as it relates to the heavens. And look, at the very least, folks, Jesus said that in the last days there would be signs in the suns and the stars and the moon and the heavens that would be signaling the fact that his coming is near. We talked about that earlier tonight with Molly Eichmann, and I just want to say thank you to Molly for such a powerful show earlier tonight. If you missed that early bird special at 7, I encourage you to go back and listen to it. It was some good stuff. It was really about the harvest field and what God's doing overseas. I don't think it's the more connection that I see in this is really what happened in the Middle East over the weekend. And the prophetic nature of this solar eclipse is more tied to this alliance of these nations, this new Arab bloc that is opposed to Israel. They are literally doing this with the intent to form almost an Arab NATO. And I was reading some of the goals and what each alliance has brought to the table. And one thing that it says that if one member is attacked, then these other nations will consider it an attack on them. And I know right now, from the outside in, the world's looking at this and saying, well, that means Iran. In other words, Iran, if Iran attacks Saudi Arabia, Turkey is bound to go attack Iran. If Egypt and if Egypt's attacked by Iran, vice versa, and all this stuff. But when you get down to it, it's not just Iran. And Iran is actually praising this alliance. And I would not be surprised tonight if at some point Iran don't get invited to enter into this alliance. I know that's crazy, and you say, well, the Saudis hate Iran. They do. But as the old adage goes in the Middle East, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Now, we would have loved to have talked to James Akers about this. We'll be talking about him with this later tomorrow night. Now, we got Theo Padnos coming on early tomorrow night at 8. James Akers will be with us later tonight, or later tomorrow night at 11. And we've got double features on Monday and Tuesday nights usually, and Thursday night. We'll be traveling home Thursday, so we'll definitely have a show. It may be late Thursday night. Leslie Mill will be with me. We got Branko coming up. We got Bill Federer this next week. Ruth Gutenheim's going to be with me. Ruth is going to talk about this alliance because it is a very troubling thing. A lot of Israel is troubled by it tonight, and I am too, for a lot of different reasons. But I'm just going to tell you that this that's going on Wednesday is actually, and another thing that is not being talked about a lot is the meteor shower that is going to happen right after this on the 13th. And let me just give you the breakdown of this. Don't pay attention to the map on the right. That's wrong. I'm just going to basically take this and just cut this down a little bit to the fact box, because that's really what I want to get to. But basically, it's Wednesday, August the 12th. It'll be a total solar eclipse. Northern Russia, Greenland, Iceland, Atlantic Ocean, Spain, the extreme northwestern Portugal area will be darkness. There'll be a partial eclipse. Much broader portions of North America, Europe, northwestern Africa, northern Asia will see at least part of it. And as I said, there will be some parts of America. The main part of America that will see any of it will be the extreme northeast part near Maine, and the extreme northwest part of Alaska will see some of it. We hear, I think, the furthest south that you'll be able to see anything at all Wednesday will be North Carolina, and it will be the coastal part of North Carolina. We'll see it. Possibly. It will be some about a 20 or 15 to 20% darkening of the sun. But it will only last about 2.5 minutes, and near the center of its path. That'll be the maximum time it'll last, and that will be probably northern Spain. Most locations will see it under 2 minutes. Spain will be particularly dramatic because the totality occurs late in the evening and shortly before sunset. And I find that very, very, very prophetic in many ways. Iceland and Greenland, totality occurs in the late afternoon or early evening. So Iceland, Greenland, and Spain are all going to experience this. And then into Wednesday night on the 12th, into Thursday morning, there's going to be a precede meteor shower. And this has to do with the constellation of Perseus. And if you know anything about Greek mythology, Perseus was a mythical character that he was able to, in order to win the hand of Andromeda, he was able to conquer Medusa. Who was Medusa? Medusa was this character who was cursed by the gods, and this is all mythology. But her face, if you looked in her face, you would turn to stone, and she would have snakes coming out of her. There would be hissing snakes out of her forehead, and if you've ever studied mythology, which they teach you this stuff in high school and social studies sometimes, and but that is the mythological character. These characters do not exist. But it's really, the constellation itself is not mythological. There is a figure in the heavens that God himself put in the heavens. These constellations were put up there in the heavens by God, not for us to worship them. but they do tell a story. And if you've been with us in our morning Bible studies, and this would go back way back to 22, 23, when we were talking about this very thing on the fourth day, when God created the heavens, the sun, the moon, the stars, that he put these constellations to tell a story of redemption in the heavens. The person of Job, when he looked up into the heavens and he said, I know my Redeemer liveth, he would state that in his book. That book is as ancient a book as there is in the Bible, even though it's not chronologically put first. It's when you look at the dates of when Job was actually living, he was living probably around the time of Adam and Eve, or shortly after the fall. It was after the fall. But Job was likely a contemporary of Noah, and it's very possible, some people believe that it was Job that witnessed to Noah and Shem and helped them understand that God existed. And that's based upon, again, biblical history and biblical historians, Josephus and others, that have written about those times back in the day. But regardless of that, Job did not have a Bible, and Job had no way to know that there was a God in heaven that liveth, except that he looked up into the stars. Job mentioned Orion, and he mentioned other constellations in his book. If you've ever read the book of Job, you will see that he mentions these constellations, and God mentions them himself. He says, Job, were you there when I put the Orion in the sky and charted his course? Were you there when I charted the course of these stars? And these stars are on a trajectory, and astronomers have studied these things. There's a difference in astrology and astronomy. Astronomy is the study of the stars. Astrology is the worship of the stars. That is forbidden in Scripture, and we don't worship the stars, and we don't look to the stars any longer for our knowledge of God. We've got the Bible. We've got the full revelation of God in the Bible that speaks of what God created in the heavens. And this is what got Israel in so much trouble. Israel would worship the stars. She would worship the celestial bodies and worship the creation more than the Creator. And God got so angry with her. And I want to just say this, astrology is as demonic a thing as you will ever find. We don't predict futures by the stars. And man has tried to circumvent God's will and circumvent God's will for him for millennia. But this meteor shower is interesting because it comes from Perseus. And in biblical terms, that constellation speaks of Christ's victory over the devil. Medusa is the figure that typifies Satan, and she typifies a demonic figure that Perseus conquered and cut the head off for him to be able to rescue Andromeda from a dark creature. And it's really a type of what Christ did for us all at the cross, because he defeated Satan and defeated his powers that we be set free from the powers of darkness. So there's two celestial events going back to back, Wednesday into Thursday. And they are coming on the heels of this other story. And by the way, folks, I'm going to give you a chance to ask you questions tonight, so bear with us. If you're in the chat this evening, I want you to just give me a chance, and I'll give you all the chance in the world to talk. But I want to show you a couple of stories tonight. This is out of the, well, that's an ad right there. We're going to talk about Tucker Carlson later. I want to look at this story here. This is out of the Greek City Times. Israel warns of a very dangerous Mecca alliance, and they are calling for stronger ties with Greece and Cyprus. And these are things we're going to be talking about this week. I just want to read you a couple of stories tonight. Mecca alliance, Israel. That's the headline tonight. Israeli Diaspora Affairs Minister Amichai Chikli has described the newly formed Mecca alliance as, quote, a very dangerous and very troubling development for Israel's security. Speaking about the pact, Chicoli noted that Saudi Arabia had previously remained largely on the sidelines, while Riyadh already held a defense agreement with Pakistan. Its decision now to align with Turkey marks a significant shift. Turkey, he stressed, is engaged in a direct confrontation with Israel that risks escalating into a wider conflict with potentially severe consequences in the Mediterranean and along the Syrian front. This is a development that is very, very bad for Israel. In response, the minister called for Israel to deepen its strategic partnerships with Greece and Cyprus, as well as the United Arab Emirates and Somaliland. It's interesting, he did not say the United States. The United States was left out of this discussion. The comments underline growing Israeli concern over Turkey's expanding regional influence and the potential security implications for the Eastern Mediterranean. And that's all the story mentions, and we'll be following this story for a while. And let's see here. I think this is, that's the Tucker Carlson story. I had another, I had the World Israel News up, and I wanted to pull that up if I could. Let's see here. But basically this, we'll find that story and have it in the McFiles Telegram room. But the Mecca Joint Defense Agreement is a trilateral mutual agreement pact basically signed on August the 7th. That was just a few days ago by Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan. The agreement stimulates that if an armed attack takes place on any of its members, it will be regarded as an attack on all three, functioning similarly to a NATO-style collective security agreement that is not so much for the well-being of Israel. That is not to help Israel. I can tell you right now, Turkey does not want to help Israel. And this is a very troubling thing. The alliance was formed to increase the strategic independence and provide a collective defense amid shifting geopolitical dynamics in the Middle East. By creating a wider network of partnerships, the signatories aim to reduce dependence on a single traditional security guarantor and hedge against regional upheaval. This pact has drawn a varied amount of response. Iranian analysts have positively viewed this as a move toward an American-free Middle East, while Israeli officials have expressed extreme alarm, characterizing it as a significant adversarial shift in the region. Now, these stories are coming out of Al Jazeera. The Greek Times has turned to the fact that Israel has turned more to Greece and so forth, and I believe that's going to be a developing story. We're going to follow this story this week. Let me give you my take on this tonight, folks. Look, we have not did a prophetic Bible lesson in a while on our morning Bible studies, but for those of you that know what we've been discussing, and we will be getting into this on Wednesday night. We talked about this morning. There are four nations, one of four nations that Daniel, in Daniel's chapter 7, chapter 8, chapter 9, chapter 10, chapter 11, and really parts of Daniel chapter 12. Daniel narrows it down to one of four nations from which the Antichrist is going to come. He's going to come out of the old revised Roman Empire. There are 10 nations that Daniel sees developing in the latter days after the church is gone. And out of those 10, one of the 10 toes, there's going to be a little horn that's going to come from those 10 toes. He's going to destroy 3, and then he will, in the 8th chapter of Daniel, these 2 beasts, he saw these 4 beasts coming out, and on that 4th beast, the 4th beast had 10 horns. It was the same identical kingdoms as he saw in Daniel 7 with the 10 toes. He saw this little horn come up from among the 10, and it was really out of the 4. He saw the 3 of them destroyed, and he got it down to 4. And those nations are Greece, Turkey, Israel, Egypt, and Syria. What is troubling about this tonight is that if Egypt joins this alliance, You've got two of the four of that alliance now hooking together. And the other interesting thing about it is that Pakistan and the Saudis, that would give you four right there. You've got Greece, which is part of that, and then Syria and Iran. If you just name those countries right there, Greece, Iran, Syria, Turkey, Pakistan, the Saudis, you got 6 nations right there. You got 6. That only leaves you having to need 4 more to basically form an old revised Roman Empire territory. And remember, and we talked about Constantinople tonight already. Constantinople was the capital, the new regional capital of the Roman Empire after Rome fell, because the Byzantine Empire became the force on the earth after Rome. And the Byzantines and the Ottomans have been a thorn in the flesh to the Middle East for almost as long as the church has been on this earth. And the fact of the matter is, folks, we are seeing alignments in the earth tonight. And it's like I said earlier tonight with Molly. All of these things, the harvest, the outpouring of this Holy Spirit, the outpouring of what God's doing, folks, all these things are screaming at us. All of these things are screaming, 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 screaming that Jesus is at the door. These alliances, and I don't think it's by any mistake, I don't, that this is on the heels of a solar eclipse that will not be seen on this earth for another 18 years. And you've got this meteor shower coming up Wednesday night that I believe is just the very fact of what it's called, the Perseid, P-E-R-S-E-I-D shower, meteor shower. They're saying it's going to be the one of the most brightest, and the Perseus means radiant, and it just reeks of God is trying to show us signs in the heavens that His coming is near. That His coming is near. These things are never done in a bubble. God is letting us know, and if you don't want to believe this, that's more than I'm not here to argue with you. You can make your own opinion about what these things mean. I'm giving you mine. And these things are prophetic in nature. Now, we don't base biblical theology on it, but what we do when we see these things, we look at what the Bible has to say about end-time eschatology, and we try to see what it's saying as compared to what we're seeing in the heavens. And folks, let me tell you, the alignment in the Middle East is huge. And let me just say this about Spain. Spain has just about gone full-fledged Muslim. Even if these are the 6 of the 10 nations, there's 4 more that's going to form some kind of an alliance after the rapture of the church. And the way Spain is participating right now, Spain and Turkey are about the same. And it would not be a stretch. I feel like Italy would be one, Spain could be one, France could be one, because this alliance of the old Roman Empire that had a Western division and an Eastern division, do not doubt that it's going to be a mix. It's going to be a mix of Catholicism. It's going to be a mix of Islam. And Spain is a poster child for the mixture of that. It is a Catholic nation, but it is turning into an Islamic nation. England is the same, more with the Islamic right now. I don't know about England, whether she's going to be part of this or not. But I do feel that Spain will be, and I do believe that France could be. I definitely believe Italy will be. I don't know where the other nations of Europe are going to stand, and maybe some in North Africa will join this. But whatever it is, it's a 10-nation confederacy that is going to be formed in the latter days after the rapture of the church. And from those 10 nations, 4 are going to arise as being one of the 4 nations where the Antichrist comes from. And I'm just going to go ahead and give you the eschatology on out, neighbor. Daniel and Daniel 11 narrows it down to 2. It's either going to be Egypt or Syria. And Syria is the king of the north. Egypt's the king of the south. And the Antichrist is going to come out of the old Assyrian Empire. And you've got to understand this tonight. The old Assyrian Empire is the region of the world that we know as Iran, Iraq, and Lebanon, and Syria. It really is that region, that stretch. The old Assyrian Empire included those four nations. So whatever this alliance is going to look like, when you start seeing things like this happen, and it's no mistake, they're calling it the Mecca Alliance. Mecca is one of the holy places of Islam. And August the 12th. 12th is the number of God's government. And in a way, this is almost Satan's way of, even though this alliance was formed on the 7th, 12 is a number for God's government. And I look at this alignment in the heavens happening. And by the way, the next solar eclipse, guess what date that's going to take place on? August the 12th. The exact same day that this one's taking place on, the one in 2044, 2045, is going to take place on August the 12th as well. 12 is the number of God's government. And see, folks, what's coming on this earth is going to be an anti-God government, an anti-Christ government, an anti-Holy Spirit government. And I think God, what I believe God is trying to say to us is that there's coming a season where the Antichrist will be given rule over this earth for 7 years. And Israel is going to face her darkest hour. And Israel's going to face her absolute greatest threat that she's ever faced for her existence. But God's government is coming in the person of Jesus Christ. He is going to come and break the power of the Antichrist at the end of the Great Tribulation period. And he is going to set up his own kingdom. And we, the church, will be with him to do that. And we will rule and reign with him. So these things, again, while we don't we don't make theology out of them. We read the Bible. That's where we get our theology from. That is where we get our doctrine from. But when you see these things lining up with what the scriptures are saying, then you can say, this is prophetic. This is prophetic, what's happening. It has nothing to do with anything else but the second coming of the Lord Jesus Christ. It's God's government that's coming. But there is going to be a false government. Folks, there's going to be something that this Mecca Alliance, I don't know where it's going. I don't know what all is going to happen. It doesn't surprise me one bit that Egypt is getting ready to join it. It doesn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if we woke up tomorrow or the next day this week and Iran had joined it. Because Iran is pushing for a America-free Middle East. And listen, even though the Saudis and Iran hates each other, the enemy of my enemy in the Middle East always becomes my friend. The intriguing thing, and this is one thing that I've never really thought about in terms of Bible prophecy, is Israel and Greece. Greece, while one of the four empires that she's actually one of the 6 empires of the past that persecuted Israel under Alexander the Great and Antiochus Epiphanes. Greece will play a role in these end times. Greece is going to play a huge role in these end times. And how that all plays out, I can't tell you. But it is intriguing that Israel's turning to Greece for her assistance. And I'll tell you why that's important. Because in Daniel 10, Daniel saw a conflict in the heavenlies when Michael and Gabriel were fighting against the Persian Empire. And the Persian Empire was in power at the time. And I go back to this eclipse, this solar eclipse. One of the solar eclipses of history was when basically Alexander the Great, and I cannot think of the city where they fought, but Darius did not, it's not Darius of Daniel, this is another Darius, but he felt in his heart that the that he was doomed to die in that battle because of what he saw in the heavens. And sure enough, it was not just an omen. It was something that took place. And not only that, but Alexander the Great basically kidnapped his wife, took his daughters, impregnated his wife as an act of insult, and slew the Persian Empire. And that's when Alexander the Great began his reign over Europe. And Alexander the Great, folks, was aided and abetted by a principality that you read about in Daniel 10 called the Prince of Grecia. The Prince of Grecia. And the reason Daniel puts that in there, and you think about this tonight, what's coming after Iran and this whole conflict with Iran is going to be, you've got a revised Roman Empire that's coming on the earth, and then the Antichrist is coming out of the revised Grecian Empire, which basically conquered all of the Middle East. Alexander the Great conquered more territory than any other military leader in the history of man. He did it all just in a matter of years, and he died suddenly at 32. He was cut off at age 32 by syphilis, a lot of people believe. There's other rumors to the contrary, but some historians believe that it was syphilis that got him. But regardless of why he died, he became a prototype of the coming man of sin and the military prowess. Daniel records all of this. I'm not just pulling this off the top of this cowboy hat and out of my head tonight, by the way. I'm not just making this up like some podcast joke. This is not a joke. This is Bible Prophecy 101. It's all written down in the book of Daniel, chapter 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, which we are going to study in the mornings. One of these years, and we'll be studying it on Wednesday night very soon when we get into the prophetic nature of the Revelation study. It's all right there. All of these things are coming on the earth. Greece, Turkey, Syria, and Egypt. Those four nations are playing a role in the end times. Keep you out in Turkey. Turkey's going to play a major role in what's coming. Greece is going to play a major role. They already are. Syria is going to play a major role. They already are. And Egypt and Israel have had peace since 1979. There's not been one conflict with Egypt and Israel other than an unknown, the silent conflict is Gaza. The Gaza Strip was Egypt's. And Egypt gave up their right to it and let Israel have the headache. But that Gazan Strip with Hamas and where all this terror was unleashed on Israel on October the 7th, basically it should have been handled by Egypt, not Israel. But that's another discussion for another time. Those four nations, folks, are four nations you need to keep an eye on. So when you hear Mecca alliance, and you hear that Turkey is making a deal with Pakistan, an Islamic hotbed of jihadi terrorism, and then you hear that the Saudis are getting in bed with the Turks, and the Saudis are getting in bed with Pakistan, Saudis are supposed to be the so-called moderate Arab nation in the Middle East that is going to protect Israel. That ain't going to happen. I didn't ever believe it was going to happen anyway, and you shouldn't either. And then we're hearing that Egypt may enter into this. Folks, that's prophetic. That is a prophetic development. I'm not saying that this Mecca alliance is what we're going to see, but I will tell you what, it has the earmarks. It has all the earmarks of what Daniel saw coming on this earth. But let me remind you why this is important. This happens after the rapture. That should tell you how close the coming of the Lord is. That should tell you tonight how close we are to the end of the church age. To the end of the church age. And I'm going to leave it at that for tonight, because this is what we're going to be talking about all week. We're going to be talking about this all week. And we hope that you will be with us for this. Now, one other thing, and then I'm going to play a video too, and we're going to take your questions. This is another wild thing. Another part of this end time narrative is the anti-Semitism and nations and countries and things turning against Israel. This is the one and only Tucker Carlson today. This is out of the UK Independent, and he says the Israeli figures connected to Netanyahu are the ones that pushed the Hunter Biden laptop story. Tucker had I guess he figured that he needed to become relevant again, and he interviewed Tucker interviewed Biden's son Hunter. He claimed that it was Israel who falsely told his team that Hunter Biden's laptop contained explicit images of children. False. During an interview with Hunter Biden, Carson dismissed the conspiracy theory. Here it is right here. I'll let you listen to this. It's about 2 minutes, 2-minute clip. Let's listen to this, and then I'll let you, we'll make some comments about it. I want you to listen to this. This is nutty, folks, but this is Tucker Carlson.
About 9 months before, and I had done an interview with the New Yorker, and I admitted everything as it relates to my addiction. It's probably one of the smartest decisions I made, not in conjunction with anybody, but literally me and Melissa sitting there, and I said, I'm gonna tell this guy everything. I have to get it off my chest. I can't have this hanging out there as my dad moves through a presidential campaign, and let the chips fall where they may. And it totally scooped them. And so what they had to do is create another narrative around it that is evidence of corruption. So when anybody says Hunter Biden, what's your first thought? Laptop. You know.
Can I just say one thing, though? That this is what I experienced during that time. The allegation that there was abusive minors proven on the laptop, that came from the Israelis.
Lie. That's a lie. That's what we call blood libel. I don't think Tucker Carlson, I don't know what's gotten into him other than the devil and a demonic force, but everything that has come out of his mouth over the last 24 months has been nothing but blood libel against Israel. He has had some of the most rabid anti-Semites on his program, promoting lies and blood libel. Candace Owens as well. But now he's literally saying that, that the Hunter Biden laptop was a ruse. When he, on Fox News, he always addressed it as being evil. He never said these things when he was on Fox. It's just now that by the way, there's a rumor he's going to run for president as a third-party candidate. Good luck with that, Tuck. You're going to finish in the basement. You're going to finish in the basement, dude. Just saying. And I'll just read you. I'm going to let him say this, but we're going to talk about this more this week. We can get Leslie on this, but listen.
I'm just telling you that. They came to me with that, so I know that. And one of the things that enraged me about the statement from those sleazy intel.
We are unbelievably opinionated about what great software looks like. The role that Seismic plays, yes.
Of course, we're really focused on learning and development and building up our frontline salespeople.
Hang on.
Hi, my name is Anthony Pica. I'm the Vice President of Global Revenue.
Yeah, of course it's the end. And I said this to him in February. I said,
"This is Service Pro Sports. I'm
not going to worry about the ads. But in this interview, he dismissed the fact that all this was true. And now he claims all this is conspiracy that was spun by the Israeli government. Just like that the Israeli government was behind the genocide in Gaza. And that all sorts of Israeli blood libel things that they have claimed. And he says, can I just say one thing, though? This is what I experienced during that time. I'll just quote you what he was trying to say before the ads took over. The allegation that there was abuse of minors proven on the laptop, that came from the Israelis. He went on further to claim that a man connected to Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu had given a producer on his former Fox News show the information directly. Hunter Biden's laptop contained nude images of himself and women, but there were no explicit images of children. The Israeli government has been contacted for full comment. This is all coming from the Independent, and go take that with a grain of salt. But that story we're going to follow, because that is something else that is going on these days. Slur Israel. Slur Israel. But I want you to look at this map, folks. This is what's coming day after tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow, because it's 12:39 in the east. But if you're in Northwest Alaska, London, Greenland, Iceland, Valencia, Spain, you are going to be at 100%. Let me get my whiteboard out here. and show you this because it's very interesting. The areas that are going to be in darkness are going to be right through here, northern Spain, Greenland, and Iceland, Norvisfjord and Reykjavik and Valencia. That's near Madrid. That's going to be 100% in darkness. London will be 91%. And this is Russia. This is the northern part of Russia up in here. It's really a weird track. And again, probably as far south as North Carolina. That's the only part of America that's going to experience this. And we're only going to experience about 15%. I would say Maine may see about a 20% darkness of the sun. But the main focus is right through here. Right through here. And folks, you know, again, we're not going to see another one of these until 2044. And the weird thing about that, it's going to happen on the same date. I think I saw 2044 one report, 2045 one another. Regardless, it's 18 years. It's 18 years from tonight, or the 12th. So for it to happen on the same date, that's pretty weird. 12 is a big number. But listen, those are my thoughts, and we're going to be following all these stories this week. I'm more concerned. Look, I just showed you the Tucker Carlson thing to let you know it's out there. I'm more concerned about this Mecca alliance, and you should be too. And you should understand that these things are happening as part of an end-time warning that Christ is at the door. Now, let me play a couple of videos here tonight, and I'm going to let you chime in to what we're saying tonight, because we have some other stories tonight. By the way, since October the 7th, not a single Jew or Israeli has randomly gone around the West stabbing or killing Muslims, Christians, or LGBTQ people, yet we're constantly told by the Jews, we're constantly told, that Jews, Israel, and Zionism are the problem. You know what the real threat is? Islamic extremists murdering innocent people on the streets of the West while using idiots such as Tucker Carlson to march with Palestinian flags and spread hatred against the Jews and against Israel. By the way, let me remind you tonight that not a single country has ever gotten better because of third world and Muslim immigration. By the way, folks, Spain is finding that out. Spain has been overrun by illegal immigration. Spain's president, we showed you the clip Friday night, Thursday night. He's basically said that if you speak a word against Islam, you get 5 years in prison. They've all gotten far worse. Spain is gone. London is gone. Europe's gone. And if America don't come to its senses, America's going to be gone. America's going to be gone. For electing people like this. Roll tape.
Make Medicare free and universal if you increase taxes. So if you are elected and make this push, would you need to increase taxes?
As I've said across this campaign, I am for taxing billionaires their wealth.
What about people who make less than $1 billion and less than $1 million, though, Dr. Al-Sayed? What about people making less than $1 million?
So for the average person, and you look at your W-2, if you're an employee who gets paid every 2 weeks or 4 weeks, after you pay your taxes, the next biggest check that comes off the top of your pay stub is to your health insurance company. So imagine instead of paying that to your health insurance company, whose CEO makes $20 million a year, instead you paid a little bit more in taxes for healthcare that you wouldn't lose if you lost your job or turned 26 or got married or got divorced. I think all of us would be a lot more interested in that kind of a system if we knew that our healthcare would be free at the point of care and would be free without having to worry about losing it in general. So there's an opportunity here, I think, to trade what we give to a big corporation who gets to decide who we get to see and who we don't for a little bit more paid into FICA. And I think that's a trade that's worth making. I think the broader public understands that that's a trade worth making, considering how many people are holding medical debt.
Let me give it to you in South Georgia language. These communists, they say a bunch of stuff. These jihadists say a bunch of stuff and run their traps, lying through their teeth. What he's basically saying to you folks, he don't care how much money you make. He'll take it all. He believes, as all of his counterparts do, the government has got a right to take your money. That's the tenet of communism. That's the tenet of what they want. And let me just say this to the useful idiots in the media. You can paint all these pigs with Chanel No. 5 all you want to, and you can try to make them look so pretty and put lipstick on them and make them look so appealing and make them look so good, and they're not really going to do this. They don't really mean what they say. And we've got an election coming up tomorrow night in Wisconsin. They got another one just like this one in a dress called Hung. And she is out there all of a sudden backtracking. AOC is backtracking. Well, we really didn't mean all this radical stuff we said 5 years ago. We are really not going to do this. Folks, Hitler did the same thing. He wrote in Mein Kampf that he was going to gas millions of Jews to death, and the world didn't believe him. And guess what Hitler did when he got in power? He gassed 6 million Jews to death. Don't think they're not going to do it. And these useful idiots like that one right there on Meet the Press is giving these people airtime, and they don't push back. They don't call them out for their lies. Tim Scott did today, and CNN got mad with him, but Tim Scott's right. I want you to listen to this, and I got to say something about this. Watch this.
For certain is that Abdul Saeed El Saeed is making it easier. Why? Because he is inconsistent with Michiganders of either side of the aisle, by the way. Someone who wants to defund police, defund ICE, who wants to abolish our concept of a border. He's just wrong for Michigan.
And I saw your early attack ads against him. You're using his full name in these attack ads, which has gotten some attention. Abdul Rahman Mohammed El Sayed. He goes by Abdul El Sayed. Are you trying to say, hint, hint to voters, he's Muslim?
Not at all. What we're saying what we're only saying to voters is a simple thing. He says he's the most
Wait a minute, Tim. Let me stop. He's Muslim. He's Muslim. Don't be scared to tell the truth, Tim. Don't back down from these crap news network punks. See how CNN did that? I want you to roll that back. They got offended. They were melting down. Tim Scott was saying the truth. This is why Tim Scott needs to grow some manhood. I would have told him and looked at him in his eye and said, yes, exactly what I'm saying. He's Muslim.
He goes by Abdul El Sayed. Are you trying to say, hint, hint to voters, he's Muslim?
No, I'm not even saying hint, hint. I'm not even saying hint, hint tonight. I'm talking to you on this late night, midnight special. He's Muslim. And folks, he hates America. He's even as good as said it. He is hanging around with Hassan Piker. And again, we're going to look at Hassan Piker this week. The Rolling Stones went out and did an article on Hassan Piker. What do we have to be afraid of Hassan Piker about? Well, here's Charlie Kirk before he was assassinated last year. Roll the tape.
Why don't you give 95% of your money away and go live on a commune?
Do you really think that that's how it works? Do you really think
Why
that's
not?
how it works?
Go
This
live what you preach. Because every single
This is as
you
silly.
talk uninterrupted for 5 minutes. Hassan, let me
Okay,
finish.
go ahead. Sorry, you're right.
I live
You're right.
what I practice.
Make
I'm
your
a free
ridiculous
market capitalist.
tweet,
I employ people. I took a risk. I have my own startup business. Every single day, I practice what I preach. He wants other people to contribute to what he considers to be a good idea, what he considers will make the world a better place. That you have the freedom to go live as a socialist. Go do it, Hassan. What's stopping you?
Okay,
right.
so here's why this is ridiculous. And the last point I will make is this.
Here's why that conversation is absolutely preposterous. If I gave away the measly earnings that I had and gave away 95% of
How much do you make,
that
Hassan?
wouldn't necessarily even push the needle.
So Hassan Piker tells Charlie Kirk that he can't give up a single dollar of his income because it would not even move the needle. Well, let's see if that's true. So according to this, his income as of 2026 is up to $20 to $35 million. So it's cited at $8 million, but it's more likely to be in the $20 to $35 million range. And here is the income from all of his sources right here. So that is a lot of money. You know, if he was to give up 95% of that and be the true socialist that he claims to be, that could definitely pay for some healthcare procedures for some illegals. Some Mexicans could definitely benefit off of that. Some Muslim families could be living off of that. So he is not a true socialist. He wants you to give away your money. But how that works in socialism is the government insiders and all of their buddies, and he's one of their buddies, will be living above the law and none of the rules will apply to them. It never does.
It never does. God rest Charlie Kirk. God rest Charlie Kirk in peace. 48 more seconds on this interview here with Tim Scott. Tim Scott was making me mad. He should have blasted the CNN reporter. He should have looked him right in the eye and said, you doggone right I'm calling him Muslim. They hate America. He hates America. He hangs around with Hassan Piker, a vile anti-Semite. Don't hold back on these boys, or we're going to lose a selection. Roll the tape.
Not at all. What we're saying what we're only saying to voters is a simple thing. He says he's the most dangerous candidate you can find. He's right. We should trust his words, not ours.
But why not just use his name, Abdul El-Sayed, which he goes by?
Let me use his name. How about anti-Semite? How about communist? How about jihadist? How about American hater? How about godless? How about atheist? How about agnostic, Mr. CNN? I'll give you a bunch of names for him. I'll give you a bunch of names for him.
Well, listen, I go by Timothy Eugene, and so...
You see, they're upset because all Tim Scott did, and Tim Scott, when he opened this can of worms, though, he should have made sure he opened it fully instead of chickening out and closing it. His full name is Muslim. His full name is Muslim. It's just like when we say Barack Hussein Obama, the left went crazy. Well, that's how Barack Hussein Obama went by. Duh.
I get called that all the time. Here's what I know with that question. It's about what he stands for. And we're going to focus and bring attention to the fact that not only is he sympathetic for Hamas, not only does he run around with Hassan Pike or someone who said that Americans deserve 9/11, he should be held account for exactly where he stands and what he's for.
Yep. He does. That's his name, folks. That's his name. Interesting stuff there. We've not covered this tonight. But I am burning mad about this, and you ladies should be burning mad. By the way, folks, let me just say this about the vaccine. Fauci's cell phone records were basically sequestered today, and we've got about 10 minutes, and I'm going to wrap this up tonight. This is a midnight special. We got a lot to cover this week. I wanted to come back on and just set the stage for the week. But it's found out now that this vaccine, and they knew about this, Fauci knew about this, and all the health people knew about this, that vaccine was causing miscarriages in a number of women in their first trimester. And Fauci, basically they've gotten the diary, but now this is his personal text messages in his phone. And he knew this, but they never told the public. We were telling the public that people were having heart problems and miscarriages and all sorts of other stuff, and we got censored for it. We got trashed. We got called liars. We got called conspiracy theorists. We got called everything under the freaking sun. Got my channel yanked twice. Lost close to 100,000 viewers because of this stuff. And we've rebuilt it a little bit. The Lord's helped us rebuild it a little bit, but we've never regained all that audience back. Some of that audience we didn't need to gain back. I'll just leave that one alone for right now. But roll tape.
Yeah, this is more explicit evidence of deception and his defrauding of the American people, especially these pregnant women, these moms. I want to thank Senator Johnson for continuing to be a bulldog in the search for truth and accountability. This is just one back and forth text message thread from the thousands and thousands that we're going to be going through here. But again, a lot of people were injured and suffered, and it wasn't from an accident. It appears to be deliberate, dishonest messaging where Dr. Fauci, he was worried about one thing but pushed another on the American people.
I mean, the American people are hearing this now, and they're seeing these texts, and they're wondering how much more of this misguidance, if it is, could be out there as Congress continues to dig through these texts.
Yeah, I think we all have a lot more questions. We are certainly going to dig in here in Florida. We're excited to work with the Senate and the Department of Justice. We've issued subpoenas. We'll be following up with more subpoenas as we gather additional evidence from, the cell phone and other potential devices. But at the end of the day, we need to know how widespread the deception went. All the while, we know he was pushing for fame and fortune, book deals, awards, making millions of dollars on the side while people are suffering. So there's clearly a deception here that people suffered from. We'll keep seeking accountability.
Yep, I hope they do. That's the Attorney General of Florida. I hope they do it. Here's Ron Johnson today with Buck Sexton, my dear buddy. I met him at CPAC a few years ago. Good guy. Clay Travis is another good guy. Ron Johnson, roll tape.
You have some news to break with us, as I understand it. Let's start with that. Tell everybody what the breaking news is.
I think you're aware of the fact that Senator Paul and I got possession of Anthony Fauci's cell phone. My staff has now downloaded that into a searchable form. We found out that there are about 34,000 texts dating from about 2014 to within a few days of when he resigned from the NIH. 522 voicemail messages, but we're going to go cooperatively through those. We're going to protect people's personal information, including Fauci's, just release the information relevant to public health policy. But it's odd in these text messages, they're all but three are just assigned to a phone number. You only had 3 contacts. So that certainly indicates some deletions, but here's the news. And we're going to do this, we're going to figure out some strategy for going through this volume of information and releasing relevant information as soon as we possibly can. But this piece of information I had released today because it impacts public safety, it impacts informed consent. So this is an email chain between Anthony Fauci, CDC Director Walensky, and Surgeon General Murthy. This is on January 25th and 26th, 2021. A little more than a month after the emergency use authorization on the mRNA injections. In the middle of the chain, Dr. Fauci writes, and this is all about the COVID injection as relates to pregnancy. So in the middle of the chain, Dr. Fauci writes, I asked around a bit more, and another issue came up that you need to be aware of, period. Since many people have significant cytokine storm and fever after the second dose, this theoretically could be associated with miscarriage in the first trimester. Now, I've never heard public officials talk about significant cytokine storms after the second dose, and all we heard from public officials is that this was perfectly safe for pregnancy. Let me go on a little bit more. In June of 2021, Tom Sheehan-Bakuro, he was the man in charge of safety surveillance systems for CDC, published a grossly misleading paper in the New England Journal of Medicine, where they looked at 827 confirmed pregnancies. 700 of those pregnancies, the women got their COVID injection in the 3rd trimester after 28 weeks. Of those 827, 104 suffered a spontaneous abortion or a miscarriage. The problem with those stats is they took the 104 divided by 827, came up with a miscarriage rate of 12.6%, which is about 4 times the rate of normal miscarriage rate on a confirmed pregnancy. But here's what they did that was so grossly misleading. 700 of those women got their injection in the 3rd trimester. A miscarriage or a spontaneous abortion is defined as anything up to 20 weeks. So the relevant denominator should have been 104 miscarriages divided by 127, which puts a miscarriage rate at 82%.
82%.
So Anthony Fauci knew about potential cytokine storms impacting the first trimester in miscarriages, told no one about it because it would create vaccine hesitancy. These folks are well aware of this stuff. You know, the massive government scandal I broke that no news station, not a broadcast network or major newspapers covered. This is a story where Peter Marks knew about these safety signals in March of 2021. Told no one. So again, this is one text exchange that Senator Paul and I are releasing today. You'll see the press release come out. We've got all the quotes by these people assuring people it's safe for pregnancy when they knew full well that it wasn't.
Folks, bottom line, this was killing babies. It was an abortion pill. They knew it. And among 827 participants who had completed pregnancy, the pregnancy resulted in a live birth in 712 cases, 86%, in a spontaneous abortion in 104 in stillbirth, and in other outcomes, induced abortion and ectopic pregnancy. A total of 96 of 104 spontaneous abortions occurred before 13 weeks of gestation. This is all due to the COVID-19 vaccine safety. On page 2276, among 827 participants who had completed a pregnancy, a spontaneous abortion in 104 of those. Later, 700 out of 712 pregnancies that resulted in live births were among persons who received their first eligible vaccine dose in the third trimester. The 700 patients of the 827 had their vaccinations in the third trimester after 28 weeks. A spontaneous abortion only occurs before 20 weeks. The actual spontaneous abortion rate was diluted from 82% to 12%. In other words, they basically lied to the American public. Fauci admitted this in his cell text by inappropriately shifting the 700 pregnant women receiving the vaccine in the third trimester. COVID-19 vaccines, 82% miscarriage rate in the New England Journal of Medicine is on par with Pfizer's rate of 81%. And with the abortion pill, the RU486, the FDA assigns its most severe black box warning, an RU486. That's the pill you take to kill a baby now. They've sanitized it like murder is always sanitized in a godless society and godless people and demonic people who's basically trying to destroy the population, by the way. That's what abortion is. It's a sacrifice to Baal because of its purpose to terminate pregnancies, folks. We're going to talk about this with our dear friend Carla Nicole very soon. What am I saying to you? They basically were given the vaccine to kill babies. And somebody needs to hang for that. Somebody needs to hang for that. I'm just going to say it. Nobody else will. Somebody needs to go to prison and basically be hanged. All righty. We're done. Anyway, listen, we're grateful to see you tonight. If you've got anything you need to say, please no medical advice in the chat room. Please, 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 no medical advice. Keep your comments related to COVID. Keep your comments. If you got anything to say real quick, we'll take your questions here. It's right at 1 o'clock in the East, and we got to get out of here. But anyway, good to see all our folks in the house tonight. Cleo said something up here earlier. I'll read it. She says, remember Tucker claimed his flash drive version of the Biden laptop was stolen. Now makes sense. I don't believe it was ever stolen. I don't either, Cleo. Good to see you tonight, dear. Mary Cleveland, your question is a good one. And Stephen, yours is too. Is it possible the U.S. will be conquered by Islam and that's why we won't come to the aid of Israel? Mary, that's a possibility. It is one of the scenarios that I've always believed would happen. But I think whatever happens after the rapture of the church. I don't think it happens before. But I tell you what, the Muslim takeover of America, they sure are trying hard to take us over inwardly, ain't they? Only God knows that, my friend. Only God knows that. It's a possibility. It's a possibility. Stephen, your question's even a better one. You say, do you think Turkey may have Syria join the Mecca alliance with a promise to protect the current leader of Syria against Israel, since Turkey helped put the current leader in Syria? Stephen, that is an excellent question. And I don't doubt it. And I firmly believe this Mecca alliance is going to grow. I'm just curious, how many of you heard about the Mecca alliance before tonight? I did not hear about it till this morning. Cleo sent me an article out of the Greek Times, and I just happened to start researching it. This happened over the weekend. Today is the 11th now, and happy birthday, by the way, 2 days ago to my nephew Tucker on the 9th, and today is Monday, going into Tuesday, so this would have happened Friday. And this is happening in real time, folks. This is not something that we're hearing about is rumored. This actually has taken place. And I don't think that it's the end of the alliance. I think there's going to be more nations join it, Stephen. And I definitely believe Syria is going to join it. I don't doubt Egypt will join it. And I would not be shocked. And I wouldn't be out there if Iran and Iraq don't join it. But your point about Turkey and Syria, I believe it's a definite possibility. That's why they're doing it. So it's a good question. It's a real good question. It really is. It's a good question. Cleo says, don't believe the media reports about the uprisings against Jews in Greece. It's organized far-left activism in Greece, not all population or government. And it is intriguing that Israel's turning to Greece for her help. And I think that Greece may turn out to be Israel's best friend in the Middle East. I wish I could say America was right now, folks, but I can't say that. Even with President Trump in office and J.D. Vance, I can't. If I was to ask you who Israel could turn to right now, Greece would probably be at the top of the list. It's not America, not fully, because there's a lot of forces over here that don't want to see that happen. But I hate to say it, folks, Israel's not going to have any friends whatsoever during the tribulation period. The world is going to turn against her fully. There will be no one to help. You know, for those of you that are in our Morning Bible studies, we studied this about 6 months ago. And when Jesus comes back to earth, and you read this in Isaiah chapter 62, 63, and 64, Jesus asks the question. He looks around and he says, why is there nobody here to help you? He's going to ask the world, why are you not helped? Where is your help? Where is the help for my people? Christ is going to be her only hope. And that's the whole purpose of the tribulation, is to turn her to Christ, because she's got nowhere else to turn. And that's exactly how it's going to happen. So with Greece and her at least talking, for the short term at least, Greece may be a big help, but I don't look for that union to last a long time. And there's no indication that anybody is going to be there to help her at the end. Greece could possibly be one of the nations in Ezekiel 38 that try to stand against the Antichrist, but will be powerless to do it. But Greece could be a sheep nation. She could be a sheep nation. We'll see. We'll see. But I'm with Cleo. Don't listen to the media about nothing right now, because they're lying. They're all lying. They're absolutely lying. They are all lying. Anyway, Turkey is a threat to Greece. Greece is aligning with Israel. That's another thing too. That is very true. It's good to see everybody in the house tonight. Let me go over to our Facebook audience. And Chris Davis says they have no idea what they're going to get if they vote in the Muslims. Well, Chris, that's a given. That's a do we ever know what we're going to get when we vote these people in? I'm wondering if the New York City people, if they could redo their vote for Mandami, if they would not rethink it. They would, but it's too late now. And that's the problem. It's too late to think it. It's too late to think it. The time to think about it is before you go cast your vote. But anyway, all righty. Well, listen, we're grateful that you're here. Israel building Achilles shield defense systems for Greece and vice versa. That's true. Cleo's our Greek expert, because she is Greek and she's also Australian. And anyway, but we will follow these stories. We're going to have James Akers on tomorrow night, and tomorrow night's election night. We'll be following the Wisconsin primary for governor, and I think Tennessee voted this past week. Alabama votes this week. Florida votes this week. In your primaries, be registered to vote, and know that your vote counts even in these primaries, folks. But definitely you need to get registered for these upcoming midterms. You need to get registered for these upcoming midterms. All righty. I've gone an hour 20. I'll give you an hour 20 tonight, late. We've had a great Monday night to start the week off. We've had Miss Molly Eichmann earlier tonight. She did great, didn't she? And we are grateful for that, and so forth. And let me get a few of these medical comments out, because I don't need any of that affecting our channel. Let's see, I saw something else here I need to take care of. Just bear with me just a second. Just a second. We've asked you not to do that, and some of you did it anyway. Greg, I hate to bust your little bubble. We're not going to lose these midterms. You better suck it up, Johnny. We're not losing these midterms. This country's not ready for communism. And if this podcaster has anything to do with it, it's that ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen. You want to go vote for the communists? You want to go vote for the left? You want to go vote for the Democrats? You knock yourself out. We're not. And if you're foolish enough to think that the Christian voice in America is gone silent, it ain't. It ain't. And I vehemently disagree with your prediction. I'm just in a little fired up mood tonight because there's a sleeping giant out there that we're going to awake. And I think that the more that people see the true colors of what this Democrat Socialist Party is, I think even some of the Dems are not going to be able to stomach it. At least those with a brain. That some moderates and some independents that have a heart and they love this country more than they don't even care at this point. It's even the Trump derangement syndrome. They're going to drop that. So if that's what you hope for, good luck with that. Wishful thinking. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. And no, he didn't fall in love with communist dictator Kim Jong-un, Greg. I don't know where you're getting that stuff from. And by the way, this is a podcast. I don't know if your mama raised you in a barn, but don't come in here be making sorry comments in our chat and disrupting our chat, brother. You know, I'm just in one of those moods tonight. We get it. You don't like Trump. Go find you a left-leaning podcast and share all that over there. I'm sure they'll applaud you. We're not here to fight with you, but you're not gonna be ugly. We don't like ugly, Greg. We don't like ugly. We don't like ugly. Yeah, Greg, you say it's 30%. You don't have no idea. It's not at 30%. I don't know where you're getting your polls from, other than the the funny pages, Greg. But anyway, see ya. Yeah, I don't have to look it up, Greg. I don't have to look it up. I don't know. Why are you in here, Greg? I'm just curious. I mean, I don't mean to fight with you. I don't want to get in with this with you publicly. Go and sin no more. Go and enjoy your time. And, whatever you want to believe, Greg, is fine. We don't believe that here. And enjoy the Crap News Network poll. Why don't you go listen to the Crap News Network? You're on the wrong side of the fence, buddy. Here, hate to tell you. Now, if you're just in here to cause problems, no, I'm not here to debate you, Greg. This ain't a debate show. If this was a debate show, then we would do this. This is the McFiles. This is an opinion show. I'm not here to debate you, and we don't allow that in here. You got a point. You make your point, and you're done. You're fine to believe that. I'm not here to debate. I ain't got time to debate. It's not worth it to me with you. Okay? No offense, brother. We're not here to debate. That's not what this show's about. We don't debate. By the way, have a good night. And you folks have a good one. And we'll deal with Greg afterwards. Listen, chaos is what we get, Marianne, when we vote Democrat Socialist, don't we? Have a good night, everybody. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless this great nation of America. And we will see you back here tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow night, we've got James Akers and Theo Padnos will be with us at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. You don't want to miss Theo. Some of you have heard him before. Some of you have not. And you will enjoy Theo. You'll enjoy Theo. He's going to bless your heart. He will warn us about what illegal immigration has done to the country of Europe, or the continent of Europe, and how it led to his almost death. And he's got a lot to say about this jihadist takeover in America, because he almost got killed by these same folks in captivity, and he escaped, and he's lived to tell about it. And He's an award-winning journalist, and you don't want to miss him. And then we've got election coverage tomorrow night with James. Probably Magdalene will be with me. And then Leslie Mill will be with me Thursday night and talk about all this stuff. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless this great nation of America. Have a wonderful night, everybody. And we are so grateful to have you. And take care of yourselves out there. Have a good night, everybody.